I used to think every family had a favorite child. Then I grew up and realized most parents at least tried to hide it. Mine never bothered. My younger sister could crash a shuttle into a shopping center, and somehow I'd get blamed for not teaching her how to park. She was the family princess, the golden child, the miracle of the household. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, which sounds like a compliment until you realize it usually means the person everyone expects to clean up the mess. For years I worked hard, paid my bills, and stayed out of trouble. I had a decent job at an interspecies communications company where I helped translate cultural misunderstandings between humans and aliens. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well and involved fewer family arguments than Thanksgiving dinner. Then my sister announced she was dating a famous movie star. Not just any movie star. A galaxy-famous actor. According to her, he had starred in 3 blockbuster films, owned a luxury moon resort, and was secretly in love with her. The first red flag was that nobody had ever heard of him. The second red flag was that he had supposedly fallen in love with her after she commented on one of his fan pages. The third red flag was literally everything else. "He can't video call right now," my sister explained one evening. "Why?" I asked. "He's filming on another planet." I blinked. My parents nodded like that was perfectly reasonable. A week later she had another explanation. "He wants to visit Earth." "Then why doesn't he?" "Galactic paparazzi." Naturally. Apparently interstellar reporters were hiding behind every asteroid waiting to photograph his secret relationship with a woman who still lived in our parents' basement. The excuses became more ridiculous every month. He needed money to unlock a frozen inheritance. He needed emergency travel permits. He needed legal fees after being falsely accused by jealous celebrities. At one point he apparently needed $40,000 because his personal spaceship had been stolen by pirates. I nearly choked laughing when I heard that one. Unfortunately, nobody else laughed. Instead, my parents glared at me. "Love requires sacrifice," my mother said. I remember staring at her. "Mom, he's asking for money because space pirates stole his yacht. Don't be so cynical." Cynical. Right. My sister continued sending money. Then more money. Then even more money. Credit cards. Personal loans. Emergency financing. Every time she sent cash, her mysterious boyfriend promised marriage, luxury estates, and a life of adventure among the stars. The amount eventually became terrifying. $240,000. I nearly fell out of my chair when I learned the total. The worst part was that my parents somehow treated it like a romantic success story. My father actually called it an investment in her future. An investment. As if wiring money to a stranger named Galaxy Heart 77 was a retirement plan. Meanwhile, my life remained pleasantly normal. At work, one of my coworkers had become my favorite part of the day. She was an alien from a world known for extreme logic and honesty. She was smart, funny, and possessed absolutely no ability to tolerate nonsense. When I told her about my sister's online boyfriend, she stared at me for several seconds. Then she asked, completely serious, "Is your sister suffering from a head injury?" I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Over the next few weeks, I kept updating her on the latest developments. Every new excuse from the fake celebrity somehow sounded crazier than the last. Each time she responded with the same confused expression. "You humans survive as a species despite making decisions like this?" Apparently. Remarkable. The situation might have remained funny if reality hadn't finally arrived. Reality arrived in the form of debt collectors. The calls started slowly. Then they multiplied. Soon my parents' phones rang nonstop. Letters arrived daily. Creditors wanted answers. Suddenly the fairy tale romance wasn't looking quite so magical. Yet somehow, unbelievably, everyone still acted as though I was the problem for pointing out what had been obvious from the beginning. And deep down, I had a very bad feeling that the worst part of this disaster was still ahead. The debt collectors didn't care about romance. They didn't care about destiny, true love, or secret celebrity relationships. They cared about one thing: money. And suddenly everyone in my family was panicking. The fantasy had finally collided with reality. My sister spent 3 days crying dramatically on the living room couch while my parents treated her like the victim of a tragic war. Meanwhile, I sat quietly eating a sandwich and enjoying the fact that none of this was my problem. That peace lasted exactly 4 minutes. My father cleared his throat. "We've discussed the situation." That sentence alone made me nervous. Whenever my parents said, "We've discussed the situation," it usually meant they had invented a way to make me responsible for someone else's stupidity. My mother smiled. Not a happy smile. A dangerous smile. "We need you to help your sister." I immediately knew where this was going. "No." My father blinked. "You don't even know what we're asking. You're asking me to pay the debt." The silence that followed confirmed I was correct. My mother looked offended. "She's family. She's also the person who sent $240,000 to a guy claiming his spaceship was stolen by pirates." My sister gasped dramatically. "You're always so negative." I pointed at the stack of collection notices on the table. "I'm negative because reality keeps proving me right." That didn't go over well. For the next hour, I received a lecture about family loyalty, sacrifice, kindness, generosity, compassion, and approximately 50 other words people use when they want someone else's money. Apparently my years of warnings didn't matter. Apparently common sense didn't matter. Apparently I was expected to write a check large enough to erase every bad decision my sister had made. I refused. Politely at first. Then less politely. Finally, my father stood up and delivered what he clearly believed was a devastating punishment. "If that's your final answer, you're no longer part of this family." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was ridiculous. My sister loses $240,000 to an obvious scammer, and somehow I'm the one being disowned. That had to be some kind of world record. My mother immediately removed me from the family group chat. I know because my phone made the notification sound while she was still sitting across from me. Efficiency had always been one of her strengths. Within hours, several relatives started contacting me. Most of them had only heard my parents' version of events. According to family gossip, I was a selfish monster who had abandoned my poor sister during her darkest hour. One cousin even suggested I take out a second mortgage to help. I replied with a screenshot of the space pirate story. He never messaged again. Fortunately, work remained a safe haven from the insanity. The moment I arrived at the office the next morning, my alien coworker noticed my expression. "Your family attempted another terrible decision?" I nodded. "They disowned me." She nearly dropped her tablet. "They disowned the intelligent one?" "Apparently." She stared for several seconds. "Fascinating." That made me laugh. "What part is fascinating?" "The confidence." "The confidence?" "Yes. Most species become embarrassed after losing $240,000. Your family appears to have become aggressive." I couldn't argue with that. Over the next few weeks, we spent more time together. Lunch breaks turned into daily conversations. Daily conversations became the best part of my schedule. She had an incredible sense of humor once she relaxed around people. Whenever I updated her on the latest family drama, she treated it like a comedy series. One afternoon she asked, "What is your sister's current plan?" "She's waiting for her celebrity boyfriend to explain everything." She looked genuinely concerned. "The imaginary one?" "Yes." "Interesting strategy." Another day she asked if humans always ignored evidence. I told her only the ones related to me. For the first time in months, life actually felt manageable. Then everything changed. One morning every major news network started broadcasting the same headline. Authorities had launched a nationwide operation targeting a massive online celebrity romance fraud network. Hundreds of victims. Millions of dollars stolen. Multiple arrests. And as I watched the report, I saw a familiar profile picture appear on the screen. My sister's movie star boyfriend. Or rather, the criminal who had been pretending to be him. The nightmare was about to become very public. For exactly 6 glorious hours, I enjoyed being right. Then the internet got involved. And suddenly being right became the funniest thing that had ever happened to my family. The fraud investigation dominated every news channel for days. Authorities revealed that the fake celebrity romance operation had targeted thousands of victims across multiple countries. The criminals had created hundreds of fake profiles using stolen photos, edited videos, and fabricated success stories. My sister wasn't the only victim. She was simply one of the most enthusiastic. Unfortunately for her, investigators released evidence. A lot of evidence. Far too much evidence. Several news organizations obtained portions of messages exchanged between victims and scammers. Names were hidden at first, but anyone who knew my family could immediately identify them. The messages were horrifying and hilarious. One conversation showed my sister sending $20,000 because her celebrity boyfriend claimed he was trapped on a luxury moon resort after forgetting the password to his financial accounts. Another message showed my mother encouraging her. "True love always requires sacrifice." That quote spread across social media like wildfire. People printed it on shirts. Memes appeared everywhere. Someone even added dramatic orchestral music behind a reading of the messages. Then came my father's contribution. "Don't listen to your brother. He's always jealous of successful people." That one somehow became even more popular. The internet absolutely destroyed him. I would have felt bad if he hadn't spent months demanding I pay for the disaster. Instead, I bought popcorn. Things became even worse when reporters discovered there had been one person who consistently warned the family. Me. Apparently, journalists love stories about the lone sensible person trapped among case. Within days, I started receiving interview requests. I ignored most of them. Then one producer offered a live national television appearance focused on online scams and financial fraud. My alien coworker practically shoved the application into my hands. "You must do this." "I don't know. You survived months of conversations with your family. Television cannot be worse." She had a point. A week later, I found myself sitting under studio lights answering questions about the entire mess. The host asked when I first suspected the boyfriend was fake. I answered honestly. "When he claimed space pirates stole his yacht." The audience burst into laughter. The host nearly fell out of his chair. From that point on, the interview turned into a comedy special. Every story sounded more ridiculous than the last. Every warning I had given was confirmed by evidence. Every excuse the scammer used somehow sounded crazier when spoken out loud. The clips exploded online. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Apparently people enjoyed watching common sense defeat stupidity. Then something truly remarkable happened. My parents suddenly remembered I existed. My phone began receiving messages. Lots of messages. My mother claimed she had always respected my judgment. My father insisted he had supported me from the beginning. The problem was that the internet had receipts. Old social media posts resurfaced almost immediately. Screenshots. Comments. Public arguments. Evidence showing they had absolutely not supported me. Every attempt to rewrite history collapsed within hours. Meanwhile, my popularity continued growing. Several consumer protection organizations contacted me about speaking opportunities. Podcast invitations arrived daily. People wanted advice. For the first time in my life, strangers seemed to appreciate my ability to recognize obvious nonsense. The best moment came the morning after my interview. I arrived at work expecting jokes. Instead, my alien coworker walked directly toward me. She placed a cup of coffee on my desk. Then she smiled. "I watched the interview." My heart immediately sped up. "Oh no. It was excellent." I blinked. "Really?" "Absolutely." She leaned against my desk. "The part about the space pirates was particularly educational." I laughed. She laughed too. Then her expression softened. "You know, I admired something. What? You stayed honest even when everyone turned against you. For a moment neither of us spoke. The room suddenly felt much quieter than usual. Then she smiled again. A smaller smile. A warmer one. And in that moment I realized I didn't care about television appearances, viral videos, or internet fame. I cared about her. So before I could lose my nerve, I asked if she wanted to have dinner with me. Her eyes lit up immediately. And judging by her smile, I already knew the answer. Her answer was yes. Actually, her exact answer was, I was beginning to suspect you would never ask. That was somehow both encouraging and devastating. Apparently I had not been nearly as subtle as I thought. Our first date was supposed to be simple. Dinner. Conversation. Maybe a walk afterward. Instead, it became one of the funniest nights of my life. Halfway through the meal, she admitted she had spent months trying to understand human flirting. Unfortunately, she had learned about it through internet forums. The results were catastrophic. She confessed that she once considered expressing romantic interest by challenging me to a ceremonial wrestling match because several online sources claimed humans appreciated confidence. I nearly inhaled my drink. Then she discovered that many of the forums had actually been comedy websites. By the end of the evening we were both laughing so hard that nearby customers kept staring. For the first time in years, life felt uncomplicated. No scams. No drama. No impossible demands. Just two people enjoying each other's company. Well, one human and one alien. Close enough. Meanwhile, my unexpected television success continued growing. Consumer organizations hired me to speak about online fraud. Several companies invited me to participate in awareness campaigns. Ironically, refusing to pay someone else's debt ended up creating the best opportunities of my life. My family, however, had entered a completely different phase. The phase I like to call historical revisionism. Suddenly my parents wanted a relationship again. They called constantly. They sent messages. They mailed gifts. My mother even sent a card claiming she had always believed in my intelligence. A fascinating claim considering she had literally disowned me. My father was even worse. Every conversation began with some variation of, "We've always been proud of you." The internet continued disagreeing. Public screenshots are forever. The funniest development came from my sister. After months of being a national joke, she somehow reinvented herself as an anti-scam advocate. She started appearing on podcasts discussing online fraud. Then she announced plans to write a book. Naturally, she wanted my help. I politely declined. That conversation lasted almost 30 seconds before she accused me of being unsupportive. Again. Apparently some lessons require repetition. Several months later, a large family gathering brought everyone together for the first time since the disaster. I almost didn't attend. Then my girlfriend convinced me. Think of it as research. Research? Yes. I wish to observe your relatives in their natural habitat. I should have known that was a mistake. Within 10 minutes of arriving, my parents were introducing me to relatives as if they had personally guided my success. The performance was impressive. Unfortunately for them, my girlfriend possessed an extraordinary memory. At one point my father proudly announced, "I always knew he would accomplish great things." She tilted her head. Interesting. My father smiled. Why? You disowned him. The silence that followed was magnificent. A few relatives immediately started laughing. My father looked like he wanted to disappear into another dimension. Later, my mother claimed she had always encouraged independent thinking. My girlfriend responded, "Was that before or after the space pirates?" I nearly fell out of my chair. Several cousins actually applauded. The rest of the evening continued that way. Every attempt to rewrite history lasted approximately 30 seconds before reality destroyed it. Oddly enough, I wasn't angry anymore. The whole situation had become too ridiculous. The people who once called me selfish now treated me like a financial genius. The relatives who criticized me now asked for advice. The family that disowned me suddenly wanted credit for my success. And through it all, the one thing that never changed was the simple truth. I had refused to reward irresponsible behavior. That decision cost me my family's approval for a while. But it preserved something far more important: my self-respect. In the end, my sister learned that fantasy isn't love. My parents learned that enabling bad decisions isn't support. And I learned that standing by your principles can sometimes lead to unexpected rewards. Like public vindication, a successful new career, and an amazing woman who still occasionally asks whether I think space pirates are available for weddings. To this day, whenever someone asks how my family's problems started, I give the same answer. It all began when a movie star stranded on a moon resort needed money. And every single time, people laugh. Because unlike my family, they immediately understand that some stories are simply too ridiculous to believe.